All right, we'll do now in the Likutei Torah and the Parshas Re'eh, and now we'll do the Mamer Biaor Hadvarim. That's the 9th Mamer. Explains the Be'inyan that we say, Al tikre bonoich elo boinoich. So, Al tikre bonoich, what is the meaning? Don't pronounce it bonoich. What is the difference between bonoich and boinoich? Bonoich means your son. Boinoich means your builder. So bonoich is bechinas ahava shenikra ben. That's the level of ahava. That's called the level of ben, which is bechinas zo. So that would be Zoh, and the main of the midas, the majority, Zayd Ampi, which is the midas, majority is the Chasodim. That is Zoh. But we're saying no Elo Boy Noich, but your builders, which is Binyan Hanukva, that's building Malchus, that's building the feminine, who Mahagvurus. That is the Binyan Malchus is from the level of Gvurus. Zo is from the level of Ava Ben. Malchus, Binyan Nukva, is Gvurus. Why? Ki Malchus Yoredes Bibya, because Malchus descends to Bia. Since Malchus goes down into Bri Tzirasiya, it also vitalizes the levels of Klipas Noiga, and even what's low in Klipas Noiga. So that's why it needs Gevuras. We'll see. It needs the Gevuras, the building, it needs the Gevuras, because that Gevuras helps it separate that things shouldn't go more than they need to go to the Klipas Noiga in the level of Zoh, which is not, doesn't come down to Biyah. Over there is mostly Chasodim. But when it comes down, it has to come down through the level of Gevuris, which is the Binyan HaNukva, which is Zoh, because it has to give Chais. He's going to explain later on. V'hinei b'Kedusha is B'chinas Bittul. In Kedusha, we have the level of bittul, level of subjugation. That is Kedusha. As opposed to in the other side is Bechinas Yesh. It's a level of Yesh. The Afal PK, Machmas Kabbalas Shifam Bechinas Malchus de Kedusha. Since the way they receive their flow, their shefa, comes from Malchus de Kedusha, Al-Kain Korula Elakod Elakaya. They call him the God of God. So in other words, they do recognize that they come from a higher source, that they do come from Malchus. Notwithstanding, they feel themselves as a yesh, as a separate entity, but they agree Elakod Elakaya because they do get their hashpah from the level of Malchus. Hinei mitzad atzmus ein sof ein teufes mokum lahafrish shelo yumshach hashepa rak b'misha botel nafke. From the perspectives of the essence of the Ein Sof, you can't say doesn't care really. Say, oh, we're only going to give the hashpah to something, to one who is subjugated to Hashem. In the Atzmus Ein Sof, it doesn't make a difference if you're butler or you're not butler. Kikula kamei kiloi choshiv. Before Hashem, everything is like not, doesn't take any place. V'im tzedakta matitin chulu. And if you are righteous, what do you do for Hashem? In other words, being righteous or not righteous, this is bottle or not bottle, doesn't really make a difference. And that's why, as the pasuk says, Shmamis biyadayim tetapis. You can have in the palace of the king, you can have a spider climbing over there. Why? Because to the king, the spider doesn't make a difference, not type smoke. Moshe Kosu b'divra maschil vayovek ish u'b'divra maschil vayi b'shalach parah. Good. So that is when we talk about the Atzvus Ein Sof. But when we use the Gevuras in Malchus, that's the concept that we know the left pushes away. We have the level of Gevuras in Malchus. Why? That should not extend to the chitzonim, to the outer ones that don't have bittul, only in a restricted way. Because the so you give them a little bit. There is a little bit of a bittul because there is a recognition that he's the God of the God. And the main flow should be extended to one who is subjugated, which is kedusha. That is in the kedusha, which is malachim, neshamas, v'chul. And because of this, binyan hamalchus tzorich malchus. Said before, tzorich li is mahagavuras. It needs to be from the gevuras. Lefi shesheredes. Because it descends in Bia, in where there is clippers, Tzilus doesn't rest with you, Ra, so we don't need the Gevuras. Over there is Chsodim. But for Malchus, you need the Gevuras in order, because they have to deal with the Klippas Noiga with a further level. That's why you need a level of Gevuras. The bracha achrona, which is corresponding to Chava, the bracha you're talking about the Sheva brachas. So the seventh bracha correspond to Chava. We said that the hiskin loy mimenu binyan adayad. Hashem made from Odom. He made a binyan adayad. He separated Chava from Odom, made a binyan Chava. So there it says, Shehi hamalchus. That's the level of Malchus. That's the seventh bracha, the seventh sphira. Is the level of Malchus, the Shav Brachas. So over there, Choisem Bebaruch, Mahai time. So that's why over there you say, Baruch Atah Hashem, Mashenki Bebracha Rishoyna Shekeneged Odom Shehuzo, as opposed to the first bracha. Over there we don't end with a bracha. There's no end bracha. Over there you just say Yetzer HaOdom. I think when he says here the first bracha, he doesn't mean the bracha Ber Priagofen. He means the bracha Shehakal Bar L'Chveide. Shehakal Bar L'Chveide doesn't have a bracha at the end, doesn't finish with a bracha. As opposed to Ashabar Sosim, the Simcha Chosum, no. So what he means here, Bracha Rishono, I think there's two times Yetzer HaOdom. After first the bracha says Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Yetzer HaOdom, and then you say again Asher Hiskin Lo Mimenu Binyan Adayad. So when it says over here Bracha Achrona Shekeneged Chava, That's the second. It doesn't mean the seventh bracha, not like I said before. It means that of the two brachas of the Yetzer Ha'odam, the first one and the second one. So the second one, when it comes to Chava, it concludes Baruch Atah Hashem Yetzer Ha'odam. But the first bracha of Baruch Atah Hashem Yetzer Ha'odam, Ein Tzorich L'Chaisem B'Tam Hanal. V'Zeu V'Hiskin Lo Mimenu Chulu Binyan. The Chaisem is the level of Gevura. Again, I explained in that Mamer over there. Let's look more in that Mamer. The Zub Malchus. Where is this rain Malchus that we're saying, this higher Madrege in Malchus? Ba Mechachma. That comes from the level of Chachma. So Chachma provides for the level of Gevura. That Malchus should not give only in the Mokim. Bama Chochma. Shach Chochma Ubchinas Bittel. Because Chochma is the level of Bittel. Al Kain Misham Nimsha B'chinas Zu. So that's why from there comes this level. Shalo Yumshach Ein Sof Rag B'mishabatel Chulu. That the Ein Sof should only go in a place to someone who is bottom. Kumeshikosova Piaraime Himne Parshas Tisa. Kumeshikos Ayin Pei. What is it? Kumeshikosova Ayin Pei says by you. Haraim Hemna. I don't know what this Kumeshikosov. Al Piharaim Hemna Parshas Tisa, Abno Lemishkolba, the stone that you use to weigh, that's the Kav Hamidah, which means the level that you weigh were to give. The Yud, that is the Yud, that's Chochma. Yud is the Chochma. The Zeu Shah Chochma Nikra Din. That's why we call Chochma judgment, because from Chochma comes the level of Bittul only to go in the place of Batel. That's the in the Zohar there is statements from the Chayet. So there is actually a sefer called the Sefer HaChayet. It's brought down in a lot of places. Kizau b'chinas gavura, the called in, because the level of chokhmah, that becomes the level of gavura. V'hainu b'chinas kav hamida, that is the measuring stick. Shu b'chinas gavura ilo da'atik yomin. That is the level of the supreme gevura of Atik Yomim. Hamlabeshes b'chokhma stima, which dresses up in the hidden level of chokhma. Shemisham shoyresh midazu. From there comes the root of this measure. Shalo yumshach gilu ein sof rak lifi erech habitl. Only according to the bitl, that's we're going to get the ein sof. So basically, he's going back to the idea that in Zoh, you have the level of Chesed. In Malchus, you have the level of Gevura. Where does Malchus get the level of Gevura? It comes from Chochmah, because Chochmah is also Din. Chochmah is the measuring and the yardstick and the tool. And that's the Avna Lemishkal Boy. That is the level in which comes down into Malchus' level of Gevura, because Malchus needs Gevura to separate where to give or not to give. This is why we say the pasuk Chochmas Noshim Bonso B'Chochma Yivna Bais. That all explains why a level of Chokhmah has to do with the building of Malchus, because of the level of Din, level that what Malchus needs. So how do we bring down this level, the level to Malchus? That is through the Oil Torah, the yoke of Torah, Chinas Yira, level of Yira. The Isa B'Rai Mehemna, it says in the Rai Mehemna, section of the Zohar, the Rai Mehemna, it says the Daled Madreges, the way the 4 steps go, is like this. The Chilu, Urichimu, so you have fear, you have the lower level of Yirat Hatorah, then you have Urichimu, then you have Ava, which is Malchus and Zoh. So Malchus is the level of the Chilu, Zoh is the level of Richimu of Ava. But then it swaps around. Then it goes Richimu U'Dechilu. First Ava, and then Yira, which is Bina v'Chokhmah. So that's the way it goes. So it goes up from Chilu Richimu, that's Malchus and Zoh, and then Richimu U'Dechilu, which is Bina Chokhmah. Nimtzo, Bechinas Zoh, Shenikra Bonoich, Bechinas Ben. So Zoh, which is called Bonoich, level of Ben, which is Avo, is Shorshe Mibina. She Gamkin Bechinas Richimu. So these both Avas are together. That's the level of Ben, comes from the level of Bina. V'hainu, and that means Avazuta Sheshorsha Me'avarabah. The lower level of Ava, the level of Zoh, which is the lower level, the Avazuta, comes from the higher level, from the level of Bina. Ochen Yira Tato, but the lower level of Yira, which is Malchus. Shorshom Yira Ilah. So that is from the upper level of Yira, which is Bechinas Chokhmah. Shehu Bitl Shalamayla Bechinas Ava. That's the level of subjugation, which is higher than Ava. Ava is Bina, but it's still in the level of a Yesh. But the level of Chokhmah is the level of Bitl. V'lachein Bechinas Boinoyich the Malchus. So who builds the Boinoyich? Who builds Malchus? Heim Nikra Talmidei Chachomim. That's why they're called Talmidei Chachomim. So because Chokhmah is what builds. Ki b'Chokhmah Davke Yivne Bayis, because it's with Chokhmah that you build the house. This is why you said this. B'Chokhmah Yosat Oretz. That means Malchus, which is Oretz, comes from the level of Chokhmah. Avo Koinen Shomayim, but the Shomayim, which is level of Zoh, Bechinas Bonoich, level of Ben, level of Ava, who Betvuna comes from level of Bin. Kosu, Ze Gamkin, Api Mamer, Hazoyar, Cheligim, Parshas Emer, Davkuf, Aposik, Begam Omno Chulu, Ube Parshas Vayera, Va'ayin, Bedibra Maschil, Hovin, and Tam, Shenishtane, Yitziris Odom, Chulu, Ein Shom. Hine, Nevuer, B'mokim Acher, B'Pirush, Boine Yerusha, Layim, Havaya. Posik says, Boine Yerushalayim Havaya, Shehu, Binyan Eser Sfiras the Malchus, that Yerushalayim represents the level of Sfiras HaMalchus. Hashem builds, the Havaya builds Yerushalayim, which means, Shehu Binyan Eser Sfiras the Malchus, Mimalchiyos Shebe Eser Sfiras the Zoh. You built the 10 spheres within the Malchus. Chokhmah, Bina, Das, in Malchus, the Malchus, from the Malchus of each of the 10 spheres of this Ze'er Ampin. Akoyach Zeh, Sheyeh Binyan Zeh, nimshach davke mimokim el Yosef. But the powers to have this building of Malchus from all the Malchus years from before, from Zoh, comes from a higher place. Ma'ayim Hashakosu, Divra Amaschel, Yom Tov Sherosh Hashanah, Shechal Liyaz B'Shabbos, Ma'ayim Bezer Chelik Aleph, Chavches Aleph, Al Posik Vayiven, and Kuf Lamed Aleph, Omad Aleph, and Kuf Lamed Tes, Omad Aleph, Ubecheli Gimel, Pinchas Dafresh, Chof Aleph, Aleph, Ubepirush Aramaz Shah. So this is Yerushalayim, the building of Yerushalayim, that's Malchus. But V'hinei Yesh, Gamken Yerushalayim Shel Mailo. There's also the level of Yerushalayim of above, which is Malchus the Ein Sof. That's the Malchus of Ein Sof, which is Yira Ilah Chulu. That's the supreme level of Yira. Bepardis Sharm Huzvan Hogla Perik Gimel. So over there it says that Yerushalayim Shel Maila Ubina. That it's Yerushalayim Shel Maila is Bina. We before we said that Bina is the level of Ava, not the level of Yira. That's we connected before Malchus with Chochma and Zoh with Bina. But here it says, Shalayim Shemal is Bina. Imken Yesh Loimar Pirush Boine Yerushalayim. So what does it mean then, Boine Yerushalayim? That is Lahamshich Toises Oir Yerushalayim Shel Mailo. To bring down Oir Yerushalayim Shel Mailo, Malchus the Ein Sof, Yerushalayim Shel Mato, Malchus the Atzilus. To bring it down from the Ein Sof, Malchus the Ein Sof, to be like a city which is united together, Yerushalayim Shel Mailo, together, Yerushalayim Shel Mailo, Yerushalayim Shel Mato, to connect the upper level Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim Shel Mato. So that's what it means. That's what it means. Boine Yerushalayim. I'm still not, let me just see, because Yerushalayim Shel Mailo, he says the Ein Sof, but it says that it's the level of Bina. And all of a sudden we have now Bina bringing the light. Okay, that's a very Indian. The idea is the Hine Mavur LeMailo, Sheyesh B'chinas Kav Hamida Shayod Nimshach Kol Ham Shochesh. That you have a measuring stick in which all the Hamshochas come down. Hamshochas Zu, the Erech HaBittel, that comes according to the Bittel. Lochein, the Chochmah Atzilus, Shoyre Ein Sof. So that's what the Chochmah Atzilus, the rest are in Sof, Lefi Shohu B'chinas Bittel, because it's on a level of Bittel. Valderech Zeh B'chol Atzilus, generally in all of Atzilus, Meir B'chinas Chochmah. You have Chochmah, so there is a level of Bittel. Avol B'Biyah, Shom Ein Meir, Bittel al derech shu b'chokhmah da'atzilus bittel amiti. In Biyad there is no, doesn't shine the true bittel, which is like chokhmah da'atzilus. True bittel rak bittel hayesh. There's only bittel hayesh. Al kein mismaid gam kein gilui oir ein sof. That's why also the revelation of the oir ein sof is diminished. V'lochein b'chinas malchus k'shem mislabeshes b'Biyah. When the level of Malchus that dress up in Biyah, ein nimshach shom hagilu ein sof, kibay ba'atzilus. It doesn't come down the revelation of ein sof like in Atzilus. Atzilus, which is bittul, over there it gets all the ein sof rests in there. But in Biyah, which doesn't have the bittul, there's only bittul hayesh that doesn't have such gilu. Achinei ach. In Agam Shebe Mamer Kam Hamida Nimda Eich Sheyeh Hagilu b'chol olam lifi erko canal. Although it measures how each world should get by Kamida, in the Kol Zeh Hoya b'tchilas ha'ishtalshlus. This was all in the beginning of the ishtalshlus. Avol achar kach tzad ma'isa tachtonin yesh shinui b'kav hamida. Because of the act of the ones below, because of our activity, there's changes in the kav hamida. L'fa'amim meir sometimes there's additional light, revelation of light in all of the ashtalshlus. Batzilus b'yitzira. Ayidei yatigba gabrus lemato tshuva ma'asim tovim v'toyro tefilot tzedakah. Through the overpowering below, when we do teshuva, good deeds, toyro tefilot tzedakah. So that's sometimes to the positive, that we get additional light because there's an increased lamata. The whole measurement was in the beginning how much everything should get, but now there is changes based upon what we do and we don't do. And sometimes sometimes it goes less. When the generation is not a fit generation. It says over the Shaydei Chet Od Marishon Yordu Ha'ilumais Harbechulu.
Let's go a little bit.
So when the generation is not fit, then you get less. The Kavanah Shabbos, Shaydei Chet Od Marishon Yordu Ha'ilumais Harbechulu. They descended a lot. Through his repentance and Shabbos, Niska, that was correct. So we find that the light is shining less because the destruction of Yerushalayim is Talkus Oir Mezov Nukva. Then we have the Oir leaving Zov Nukva Machos Kosu Kuchabrichu. Solik le'elo, that the Eibishter has removed himself higher and higher. That means that Sur, which is the Klippa, grows when the Yerushalayim is destruction. So at that point, when there is istalkus or mizov nukva, then they flourish. This is what it means by noyach. Binyan Yerushalayim, b'noyach t'vzlam mahamshich, toisus oil b'bchinas malchus mokad dibya, to add more light in malchus, which is the source of biyah, ad sheyiyeh Gam lamata gilu eris of Mamer, until below there will be revelation in Sof. Like we say about the future to come, that they're going to come in the caves of the rocks, of the boulders, because of the fear of Hashem. That means that there's going to be a tremendous gilu oir. So how do you build it? Al tikra banoich through the yoke of Torah. That's how we build malchus. By mashakosu aposik orisi moiri in b'samim. Zo gamkein inyan Yerushalayim. This is also Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim means complete Yerushalayim. Shenim shechal idei haTorah. That Yerushalayim, you get the full year, you get Yerushalayim, you get that binyan, boinoyich, it's through Torah. Ba'im ha'shekosov ha'posik, Simone kichoisem. Over there it discusses be'inyan, choisem shokua shekeya, that you have a seal that sinks in. The yira shemamshich me'bechinas, gavoya yosef. And the level of Yira, which mamshich a higher level, mahaz shochash de chaysim boilet shamilmato. So when you have a seal that sinks in, that's the level of Yira, comes from a higher level than a seal that protrudes. A choisem shekeya means that the seal, the seal that you have, is a sunk-in seal, so it's inside. So when you press, it gets the opposite. So if it's sunk in, then you get a protruding seal. When the seal stands out, then you get a sunk. Then you get a sunken result. It's always the opposite of what your seal is. If it's a shekeya, it's a sink, and then you'll get a protruding. So that he said the Yirash Mamshich Mibchinas Gavoya Yeser, that you bring it because it's a higher result. Mamshocha Shel Yidei Choisem Boilet Shel Mato. That's the Bechinas Ahava. Zohu Al Tikri Bonoich, because the level of Ben, we said, is the level of Ava. Al Tikri Bonoich Bechinas Ava. Elo Bonoich Bechinas Bonoich, which is level of Ava. Elo Bonoich Bechinas Yerushalayim. Through Eisek HaTorah, you get the higher level of Yerushalayim.